Good morning, everyone, and welcome to UUUF, University Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. My name is Michelle Flores, and I am your service leader for today. Today is Sunday, April 30th, 2023. Wow. So I welcome everyone, both here and in person and online, to join us in this shared sacred space this morning. And I will also remind everyone that this is a great time, if you haven't already, to silence or put your devices on vibrate. With that, we will get started with committee moments.
Hi, Joey Cole for SAC, which is our Social Action Committee. Just reminding anybody who is a SAC member that we are having a meeting after church today. This is mostly in preparation for Saturday, and I'm hoping all of you will be coming Saturday. We are having our annual, I say annual, I don't know that we have one every year, but we are having a church picnic our first annual, there you go, our first annual church picnic at the Orlando Wetlands Park. If you're not sure, it's in Christmas, Florida, which is down the road, near Bithlo and that area, okay? And if you need directions, in our notable news, it has been in the notable news the last couple of weeks, and there is, if you click on it, where it says picnic, there is a link to the park itself. So there will be directions. Lots of you have already been to the park, you know where it is, so you can talk to other folks. We will be providing drinks. So if you have a large cooler that you could let us use next Saturday, please see me after service. But at any rate, we will be bringing soft drinks and so forth. There's no alcoholic beverages, just don't get too excited. But we'll have lemonade and stuff like that. But we are asking each individual family to bring their own food, okay? And it is from 11 until 3 o'clock. Absolutely no pets, and if you have small children, please watch them. There are alligators. It is a kind of a wild area down there. It's okay, you're not in any danger, but I just want you to be familiar. No, I mean, you need to know that's what's down there, because a lot of people think they're going to bring their pets or something. You can't do that. So. Okay, now you're intrigued. You have to come. No, but there will be somebody to direct you. I'll make sure that I'm down there to do that early.
Hi, Lori Hospitality. So I got a couple of things. First is, I'm going to be gone most of May after next week. So Joey's going to help for most of the weeks, but she's also gone on the week of the 28th. And I've got the Spicklers offering to bring snacks, but I still don't have anyone making coffee that day. So if there's someone who would like to step up and be responsible for getting, okay, Leanne got it, so thank you. The next thing is next week for the meeting, I'll be bringing snacks to hold you over through the meeting. This is not lunch. And I will have sandwiches that are both carnivorous and vegetarian. If someone would like to help with vegan and gluten-free, I'd be very appreciative. Otherwise, I'm not very imaginative. I'll have something, but it may not be very wonderful. Thank you.
Hey guys, Derek, Facilities and Grounds. Reminder, not next Saturday, but the following is the work day. We really need some help kind of cleaning up around the edges and thinking about how to kind of fix that landscaping out front. So if there's a landscape creator around here somewhere that wants to help draw up some ideas, that'd be great.
What was the date? Another 13th.
It's the 13th. That's not next Saturday, but the following.
Hi, I'm Celia Mitchell, and I'm starting a film club. Our first meeting will be on May 12th at 7 p.m. We're going to be watching Everything Everywhere all at once. If you have any questions, I'll be in the back with the kids after service.
Is that all ages?
Hi, I'm Jules. Next Friday, we are doing, the women's group is meeting here at 6:30. We're just going to be hanging out and talking, having a good time for Cinco de Mayo. That's what it is. There we go.
This may be my last auction announcement until next year. Sarah Sullivan isn't here this morning, but when you see her, please thank her because she was really the co-chair of the auction and did wonderful things. Also, if you haven't paid yet or need to know about paying, Sarah will be here next week and you can contact her by email or phone to find out how much you owe and how to do that. Our Sprungtime Auction Committee will be meeting at 12:15 today at Giovanni's, and if anybody thinks of something that they need the auction committee to know before our evaluation meeting, contact us right after church. Thanks.
I'm here to remind everybody that the annual meeting is next Sunday. It's earlier than usual, but we had a lot of competing schedules, so it's next Sunday, right after church. It's been in the notable news. We sent out the agenda, so as many members, voting members that can be here, so we have a quorum, so we can elect new officers and approve a new budget and do all sorts of fun things. So please come and enjoy Lori's wonderful lunch. Not snacks, not lunch. I'm sorry.
Hi, good morning. Beatrice Reyes-Foster. So just another reminder that the band book club will be meeting today from 5 to 7 in the library. The book that the club selected was Genderqueer by Maya Kobabi, and anybody under the age of 20 is welcome to attend. So if you have read the book and you want to come, please join us. Thank you. And if you know anybody that might benefit also.
Awesome. A lot of great things going on. So my opening words this morning, I didn't find any quotes that really kind of spoke to me, so here we go. Spirituality is something that is deeply personal to each of us, and exploring our spirituality even more so. And here at UUUF, we encourage people to learn and explore their own beliefs. And I know that that's something that really kind of drew me here as like searching for a spiritual home, because, I really liked that very openness. And so one way that we do that is to listen and to learn like other beliefs and experiences. And I encourage you today to do that as we hear from Chloe Hatfield will be leading, and I believe a couple of other members will be sharing their journey and we'll be learning a little bit today about paganism. So with that, now it's time for opening music. This is going to be "Oh Brother Sun." It's hymn 1066 in the teal book. That's the thin one. And we're led by Stephanie and Alicia today.
Hi, everybody. Oh, golly. Let's try that again. Hi, everybody. Hi. Much better. Okay. All right. The tune to this song is Ye Banks and Braes, which is an old Scottish tune. For your information, Banks refers to banks of the river. Braes means hillsides. And it's famous. Those words are famous if you know the Burns poem, Ye Banks and Braes, O Bonny Doon. And that is referring to the River Doon, just so you know, which is at the southwest end of Scotland. And it's sort of the entrance to the Highlands is how people see it. So that's what the tune comes from. The words are older, and they come from St. Francis of Assisi, who is sort of the most pagan of all the monks that I can think of, yeah. He's the one that in the statues, he's always got the birds on his shoulders and the squirrels nestled up in his arms. Sometimes there are little kids on the ground beside him and they're surrounded by deer. That's St. Francis of Assisi. He's the one who also was the first to bless the animals. If you've ever been to an animal blessing service in an Episcopal or Catholic or Lutheran or whatever church that still does that, and sometimes here, St. Francis of Assisi was the dude who started that. He's who gave everybody the idea. Also, for your information, he is the Francis of the Franciscan monks. He's the one who founded the Franciscans, and they were dedicated to charity work, giving alms to the poor, and to taking care of nature and animals. So, all the way around appropriate for today. True. So, okay. So, this one takes some breath support. Trust me. So scoot forward on your chair, sit up straight, like a real singer, because you are. And we're going to start "Oh Brother Sun." You ready? We'll stand in the second verse. It's long. Oh, brother sun, you bring us light, all shining round in fiery might. Oh, sister moon, you heal and bless, your beauty shines in tenderness. Oh, brother wind, you weep the hills, your mighty breath both freshens and fills. Oh, sister water, you cleanse and flow through rivers, streams, and ice and snow. Sorry, guys, everybody up. Oh, brother fire, you warm our night with all your dancing colored light. Oh, sister earth, you feed all things, all birds and creatures, scales and wings. Oh, sister death, you meet us here and take us to our God so near. Oh, God of life, we give you praise for all your creatures, for all your ways. Not bad. Yes, exactly.
That was beautiful. Thank you. So now we have our chalice lighting, and today's chalice lighter is Anastasia. She is 10 years old. Her pronouns are she, her, And her joy today is bagels and chaos. So we'll say the lighting of the chalice in the light of truth and the warmth of love we gather to seek, to sustain, and to share. And now our affirmation. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its gift. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek truth and love, and to help one another. So again, this morning, I want to welcome everyone, particularly new visitors. Our congregation is a great place to put down your roots while also spreading your wings. We're a group with shared values and principles and diverse beliefs, as you will also hear about today. Also, I welcome any visitors online, in person, to come back a few times. Our topics and speakers vary. And we have a part-time minister that's here twice a month, and then everything else is other speakers. Some are members of our congregations, professors, people from different specialty areas. So I welcome you to encourage you to give us a try a few times before you make your mind up about us. So now is a time for joy and concerns, where we encourage people to bring up their joys and concerns to share with us, as we know that celebrating our joys together can increase that, and sharing our concerns can also lighten our load.
Good morning. So it's been a few weeks, and I didn't really want to talk too much about it, and I still don't. But anyway, I lost my mom Easter morning. They gave me a call, and she was 90 years old, and it was time, and she was ready, and she died in her sleep, so it was peaceful. It was here. She was in a nursing home here in Orlando. But my mom, I just got to say, I just wanted to say a couple of things about her. I could not.
So we also have a concern. Our family dog of 5 years passed away yesterday. So we were all just mourning his passing. And he was a very sweet dog, very energetic. He farted a lot. And whenever I smell anything like that again, he will be the first thing I think of.
My joy is I got to go on Tuesday for the drag march to Tallahassee with over 300 queens, and it was an amazing experience, very soul-filling. And then Thursday we went to Kinky Boots with some friends, and so it has been an amazing week for us.
Hi, Chloe Hatfield, and I have a concern. Last Sunday, I found out that somebody very dear who has blessed my life, even for the short time that I've known him, passed away. His name was David Hands, and he was the husband to my roommate, my best friend's mother, and treated me like second family. And he was such a sweet man, a very giving man, and it is just so sad how sudden and how the cause of it was. It was just very sad.
I have a joy. I went swimming. dog passed away. Which day did he come?
Tuesday.
Tuesday. He died. That's another word for pass away.
Yeah. So I mentioned last Sunday that he had been feeling off, and yeah, he had a neurological condition, and he started seizing on Monday, and he died less than 24 hours later. So we're really sad. We're also somewhat relieved that it happened quickly, but yeah, please keep us in your thoughts. I actually had something else to share with everyone. I don't know if you all remember Gabriela Spears Rico, who spoke to the Congregation for Indigenous Peoples Day a couple of years ago. Her husband had been on a waiting list for a kidney donor for 11 years, and they found a living donor for him. So that is a great joy. She has a GoFundMe page going because it's going to upend their lives for quite some time. And so if anyone's interested in helping out, let me know, and I'll share the information with you.
We're Peter and Paula. Mary is at home right now. I kid you not, that's our dog's name. And tomorrow morning, tomorrow on the 1st of May, we're going to be celebrating our 35th wedding anniversary. We're racking them up, and all I can say about that is, any relationship could be measured. When somebody says, how long? It's either too long or not long enough. And I'll say, not long enough. Can you second that?
Oh, absolutely.
Good answer. I'll start with a concern and end with a joy. My concern is that I have to have another surgery. This time, the upper body is involved. We don't know for sure what they're going to find when they go in, but things have to leave my body. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about that, but anyway, hopefully they won't find anything that can spread, and it'll just be done and over with. And then I'll get new things. Anyway, so that's coming soon, and so that's my concern, but I'm actually okay today. Maybe not tomorrow. Today I'm fine. The other joy is that yesterday was local yarn store day. And my yarn group happens to meet in a local yarn store, my knitting and crochet group. And what a day we had. There were like 20 people who came to sit down and actually do crafts with us. And everybody's doing their own thing, but helping each other and talking. It's a great community. Knitters and crocheters are my people, I'm here to tell you. And as a result, it was just a really fun time, and I was so happy to see this community. And I was also happy to see literally dozens of people we've never seen before come in and out of the store yesterday morning, because it was local yarn store day. It was also local bookstore day. Yes, which made it a very dangerous day, but anyway, but it was a great day.
So I have a joy. This may sound a little weird, but my joy is on this Friday. I'm having a back procedure. I'm having another one because the first 3 did not work. So third or fourth, whatever, is a charm, and this is going to work. Fingers crossed, good energy, prayers, whatever it is you do, I would appreciate. Thank you.
A lot has been shared here this morning, and I feel like there are usually things that are also not shared. So I would appreciate if we take a moment of silence and observation with those joys and concerns, both shared and not. Now is our time for all ages. James, our new religious education coordinator, is not able to be here today, but he asked that I share a message. So for today's time for all ages, we'd like to share with the whole congregation what our kids are doing in RE today. All of our kids will be working on materials to go in an RE time capsule. The littlest UUs will be making self-portraits and doing about me activities, while upper elementary kids and middlers will be writing letters to their future selves. We've also invited kids to bring pictures of their families and pets to class to place in the time capsule, which will be filled in a few weeks. So be sure to ask the kids all about it during coffee hour, and maybe share some time capsule experiences that you may have had in the past. This is our time for interlude and offering. We're going to have music, circle game, performed by Stephanie and Alicia. And we always share 40% of the loose plate offering with a charity or social justice organization as selected by our social action committee. And right now it's going to pastoral care for today, because it's the 5th Sunday. So the 5th Sunday of every month will be for pastoral care.
Well, while you're filling the baskets, let me share with you that Circle Game was written in 1966 when Joni Mitchell was a single mom. Well, not quite a mom yet, but almost a mom. And she needed money. So she wrote this song, and it was picked up first by, oh gosh, I can't read my writing. No, it won't help. Anyway, it was picked up by another folk singer who put it on his album in 1968. And it's somebody we all know. It's driving me crazy. John somebody. Begins with an R. I can't come up with it. Anyhow, and she wrote the song. This is an interesting story. She says she wrote the song specifically for Neil Young because he had just recorded Sugar Mountain, a song in which basically he says, you know, you live your life in your teens and then you're dead. And she said, gosh, so you get to be 21 and that's it. And that's kind of a bleak life, bleak prospect for everyone. So she wrote Circle Game, which is about how life continues in these great circles, which is why we chose the song for today when we're talking about paganism. I don't know if all of you know that the symbol, the wheel of fortune, or the wheel of life, is central to most pagan teachings, most pagan traditions. And it basically says we go in years, we go in months, but it's all a cycle, whether it's decades long or centuries long. So circle games seem to fit that. Ready? Thank you. I could not read my writing to save my life. Anyway, the chorus is going to come up there, and I hope you'll join us in singing the chorus. And honestly, if you know the whole song and you remember it fondly, come on out and sing, you know. Okay, here we go. Yesterday, a child came out to wander, caught a dragonfly inside a jar. Fearful when the sky was full of thunder, and tearful at the falling of a star. And the seasons, they go round and round, the painted ponies go up and down. We're captive on a carousel of time. We can't return, we can only look behind from where we came, and go round and round and round in the circle game. Then the child moved 10 times round the seasons, skated over 10 clear frozen streams. Words like, when you're older, must appease them, and promises of someday make their dreams. And the seasons, they go round and round, painted ponies go up and down. We're captive on a carousel of time. We can't return, we can only look behind from where we came and go round and round and round in the circle game. 16 springs and 16 summers gone now. Cartwheels turn to car wheels through the town. And we tell them, take your time, it won't be long now, till you drag your feet to slow those circles down. And the seasons, they go round and round, the painted ponies, they go up and down, captive on a carousel of time. We can't return, we can only look behind from where we came and go round and round and round in the circle game. Well, the years spin by and now the child is 20. Their dreams have lost some grandeur coming true. There'll be new dreams, maybe better dreams, and plenty before that last revolving year is through. And the seasons, they go round and round, the painted ponies, they go up and down. We're captive on a carousel of time. We can't return, we can only look behind from where we came and go round and round and round in the circle game. Just stand up. And the seasons, they go round and round, the painted ponies go up and down. We're captive on a carousel of time. We can't return, we can only look behind from where we came and go round and round and round in the circle game. And go round and round and round in the circle game. Beautiful.
So before we sing our children out, there were a couple of joys and concerns that came on online, and I want to make sure that we share those as well. Martha?
Yes. Thank you to Happy, who has just returned from New Zealand. They had a wonderful trip. So I didn't notice these were on another thread. Let me find it, because there's a lot of good ones. Oh, back at the top. John and Happy have just returned from our New Zealand adventure. Our daughter Caroline is doing wonderfully. She sent us a picture yesterday from the closest piece of land to Antarctica. Together with her, we saw glowworms and the Southern Cross and the best coffee. They had a wonderful trip. We're hoping for a travelogue dinner and drinks soon. I'm just saying, we'll all come. Maybe we'll even pay money. Miak is having cataract surgery tomorrow morning. So prayers and good thoughts are appreciated. Thank you from Kelly, and hopefully that'll go well and his vision will be just back to where it should be. Pam Angel is a new member, or not a new member, she's not a member, but have attended several services. They're going to be traveling this summer, and she wants to get on our notable news, so we will surely make that happen. Another happy from John and Happy. They celebrated their 27th anniversary, and her anniversary day lasted 36 hours, more or less, because they were traveling home, and so it is representative of the bonus wonderfulness of our marriage. So I think they too are saying, not long enough, like Paul and Peter. And that's it. So, thank you.
Thank you. Now our children can go back to RE. We love you and bless you and send you on your way. We love you and bless you today and every day. Awesome. So at this time, I'm going to welcome up Chloe Hatfield. Her pronouns are she, her, and she's been a member of this congregation for a while. 2017? 2015.
Good morning, everyone. So I've come to talk to you about paganism. What is paganism? To put it simply, paganism is a religion or spiritual practice other than one of the three main world religions, specifically a non-Christian or pre-Christian religion. The term paganism was coined in the 4th century by early Christians in reference to people who practiced ethnic religions that were not Judaism or Islam, and who practiced polytheism, which at this time in history were the Romans. Paganism has been present for centuries, even in the time of Christian sovereignty. Even in Christianity, paganism has shined through with the adoption of holidays, festivities, and practices that were, in place of a harsher word, adopted by Christians from the pagans. In modern day, there has been a resurgence with the rapid growth of paganism starting around the 1950s. Every pagan is different with their personal belief systems, regardless of their deities or lack thereof. But it is safe to say that most, if not all, pagans recognize nature as a divine and sacred energy which is at the root of their theistic practices. According to the World Religion section on the BBC website, paganism is contemporary religions usually based on the reverence for nature. Western Area Health goes on to say that pagans believe that nature is sacred and that the natural cycle of birth, growth, and death observed in the world around us carry profoundly spiritual meanings. Human beings are seen as part of nature, along with other animals, trees, stones, plants, and everything else that is on this earth. They also state that the social infrastructure of paganism reflects the value the pagan community places on unity and diversity, or unity in diversity. It consists of a network of interrelated traditions and local groups. Sound familiar? As said before, not all pagans believe in the same deities or conduct the same practices. When it comes to worship, there are a myriad of denominations that are available for pagans to choose from. These are called pantheons, and pagans can choose to follow one pantheon, believe in multiple pantheons called polypantheism, or none at all, as they can practice non-theistic paganism. It is possible for pagans to be polytheistic or monotheistic, or even incorporate one of the three main religions into their paganistic practice and create a polypantheism with that religion's deity and belief system. Whatever you choose to believe in that feels right to you is what's most important in your personal spiritual journey into paganism. Some examples of these pagan religions are Hellenism, which is the worship of the Greek deities, Asatru, which is the worship of the Norse deities,
Peyotism and many other indigenous spiritual practices, Kemetism, the worship of Egyptian deities, Shintoism, the worship of Japanese deities, Celtic paganism and Druidism, and so much more. Now, when you hear the word pagan, nowadays the first thing that comes to people's mind is Wicca. There is a saying that is popular in the Wiccan community. Not all pagans are Wiccan, but all Wiccans are pagan. Wicca is a modern neo-pagan religion that started around the mid-20th century. The core belief of Wicca is the goddess and the god, who are the female and male essences of the all-encompassing life force responsible for all creation, including the cycles of life and death on Earth, with the moon representing the goddess and the sun representing the god. Though Wicca is a polytheistic practice with this core belief, many are polypantheistic and incorporate other deities into their worship, and may also believe that all the male and female deities from other pantheons that they have included in their worship are represented as one through the god and the goddess. Wicca is the largest form of modern paganism, as well as the best known and most extensively studied. But everything that has been stated, regardless of its validity and truth, has been from outside eyes looking in. I would like to invite the fellow UU Pagans, Paula Despang and Stephanie Mesler, to share their personal stories and journeys into their pagan spirituality with us. And I would like to invite them up to the podium to speak.
Wow. Whoops. I've started out already with things in the wrong order. I frightened myself. A long time ago, I was a card-carrying fundamentalist, complete with a Bible to thump and people to annoy. Yeah, knocked on doors and harassed people, did all that stuff. Did that well into my 20s. After my divorce, several congregations in that denomination treated me like I had leprosy or something else that was catching and dangerous and deadly even, and made me feel extremely unwelcome. I was deeply hurt by this. I began visiting other denominations, but never really felt at home in any of them. During this time, I also resumed the education, my higher education. I had interrupted that to get married. Well, so went back to that, and also began a lot of serious reading. Now, I confess to being a lover of fiction. You line up a bunch of fictons in a row, and they're mine. But I'll also read some nonfiction. But I have found spiritual truth in both, and illumination there. While I was in college, I took, you have to take some science courses, and they let me take a course in ecology. Well, I just ate that stuff up with, a two-fisted eater, as if I had both a fork and a spoon. And all of it came together in a way that it could not have if I was still a teenager in college, because I was busy majoring in social life when I was in college. And when I went to college the second time, I was majoring in let's learn something. And it was all making sense because I had had some experience with life in the world. And believe me, it makes way more sense for all of you teenagers who went out of high school and straight into college. Well, my heart goes out to you. That's, I think, in some ways the hard way to do it. But I digress. So I was doing that reading, and a friend of mine gave me her copy of When God Was a Woman. And I started reading that, and I was blown away. It made so much sense to me. And it settled down inside of me and felt at home. I'm like, this is the good stuff. This is the good stuff. They have fed me sour mash all this time when I could have had honey mead. You know, this is the good stuff. And I read a lot about ecology too, not just in class. The class was interesting, but I started reading other things. And we have wonderful friends. They were giving me things to read. Women Who Run with Wolves. Who's read that? This is a good piece of stuff. We are friendly but not tame. So, and I found, I stopped reading, for a while, I stopped reading anything written by men except for textbooks. And this was really an eye-opener. Women write so differently from men until you've tried this segregation of your own library. You can't really feel it until you try that. But it's an amazing experience and an eye-opener for me. So while I'm learning a lot about carbon cycles and water cycles, which, by the way, have no training wheels and no place to put them, but you can go places with them, by golly. And so all of this is resonating and bouncing around and echoing and starting to coalesce inside of me. Now, this part of what I was reading anthropology. I took some courses in women's studies too. Ooh, that was fun. And you think about it. Well, of course, Stone Age people and the people who came after them would elevate women's importance in the world because the female of every species produces new life. And they didn't quite understand early on that men had something to do with this. Because people can couple anytime, but it doesn't always produce a baby, so you wouldn't necessarily have that cause and effect thing come to mind right away. You'd have to have somebody who really knows about it tell you, right? We all did. Well, sort of. My mother kind of found out by accident, but that was her problem, not mine. She got married on the family plan. Anyway. So, anyway, I'm taking all these different courses and putting all this stuff together and seeing, part of what became very clear was how in Western culture, it's perfectly fine to exploit, use up, wear out, and discard women and the earth. That women are colonized and used up and worn out and cast aside. There's nobody less invited than old women in most Western cultures. A lot of the people who were burned as witches were really just old ladies who knew something about herbal medicine. Craziness. In earth-based cultures don't have this negative bias. You'll see them venerate the maiden, certainly, why not? And the mother, yes, the abundant mother supporting us all, and the crone for her wisdom. And that's a whole other perspective. I would like to share with you part of something Barbara Kingsolver wrote. And she's a novelist. I'm going to share this with you just the same. This story is about this woman in her 30s and a friend of hers, and he's Native American, and he has taken her to a pueblo to meet some of his Hopi friends. And they're having a festival there in which there will be dancers doing a lot of dancing. They're going to dance for hours. and he's explaining it to her. So she says, "Who's the striped guy?" "Oh, that's Koshari. He's a Kachina. He has to do with fertility, and his home is in the East." This struck me as humorous. The East, as in New York, area code 212. The East, as in where the sun rises. So that's all part of the job description? All Kachinas have whole histories and families and live in one of the important places. I thought a Kachina was a little doll. Well, that's true. And also a person dressed up? Yep. And a spirit. A spirit with a family and a mailing address. That's right. When a person dresses up a certain way, the spirit comes into him and into the doll if it's made right. Okay. What? Nothing, just, okay. I understand. He smiled sideways. You think it sounds like voodoo. All right, I'm narrow-minded. It sounds like some kind of voodoo. So we watched the dancers for a while. Anglos put little dolls of Santa Claus around their houses at Christmas, Lloyd said without looking at me. Yeah, but it's just a little doll. Does it have a wife? Yes. And elves, and they live at the North Pole. And sometimes one guy will dress up as Santa Claus, and everybody acts a certain way when he comes around, all happy and generous. I've never been put in a position to defend Santa Claus. And I never really believed in Santa Claus. It's just because he stands for the spirit of Christmas. I said, exactly. Lois sounded very pleased with himself. I've seen Jesus Kachinas too. I've seen them hanging all over people's houses in this town. Well, there's a thought to ponder. So Koshari must have also been the spirit of nuisance or a good belly laugh. So he went, and Koshari does some strange things and tries to interact with the other dancers, but they're ignoring him and going about their business. He's a clown. So they're watching more dances. There's quite a bit of stuff here. They're watching more dances and talking about the most of the dances, he said, have to do with rain. Out here, that's what everything hangs on. Santa Claus, Kachinas, and the beauty of the spectacle notwithstanding, I still felt outside of it. So you make this deal with the gods, you do these dances, and they'll send rain and good crops and the whole works? Is that how you're talking about, what you're talking about? And nothing bad will ever happen, right? Yeah, right. Prayer had always struck me as more or less glorified attempt at a business transaction. A rain dance even more so. I thought I might have finally offended Lloyd past the point of no return, like stealing a lobster from the frozen foods that time to get myself fired. But Lloyd was just thinking. After a minute, he said, "No, it's not like that. It's not like making a deal. Bad things can still happen, but you want to try not to cause them to happen. It has to do with keeping things in balance." In balance. Right. It's like the spirits have made a deal with us. Okay, so what's the deal? We're on our own. The spirits have been good enough to let us live here and use the utilities. And we're saying, we know how nice you're being. We appreciate the rain. We appreciate the sun. We appreciate the deer we took. Sorry if we've messed up anything. You've gone to a lot of trouble, and we'll try to be good guests. Like a note you would send someone after you've stayed in their house. Exactly like that. Thanks for letting me sleep on your couch. I took some beer out of your fridge and I broke a coffee cup. Sorry, I hope it wasn't your favorite one. I laughed because I understood in balance. I would have called it keeping the peace, or maybe remembering your place, but I liked it. That's a good idea, especially since we're still here sleeping on God's couch. We're kind of permanent house guests. Yep, we are. Better remember how to put everything back how we found it. It was a new angle on religion for me. I felt a little embarrassed for my blunt interrogation, and the more I thought about it, even more embarrassed for my bluntly utilitarian culture. The way they tell it to us Anglos, God put the earth here for us to use, westward ho, like a special little playground. Lloyd said, well, that explains a lot. It explained a lot, a hell of a lot. I said quietly, because the dancers' bells were quieting down, but where do you go when you've pissed in every corner of your playground? I looked at Koshari, who had ditched his cowboy hat and gun and seemed to be negotiating with Jack. Jack is a dog. I remember Lloyd saying one time that he would die for the land, and I thought he meant patriotism. I'd had no idea. I wondered what he saw when he looked at the Black Mountain Mine, that pile of dead tailings, a mountain cannibalizing its own guts and soon to destroy the living trees and home lives of Grace. It was such an American story, it was hardly even interesting. After showing me his secret hot springs, Lloyd told me that the Jemez Mountains were being mined savagely for pumice, that odd styrofoam-like gravel that I'd thrown into the air in handfuls. Pumice was required for the manufacture of so-called distressed denim jeans. To people who think of themselves as God's house guests, American enterprise must seem arrogant beyond belief, or stupid. A nation of amnesiacs proceeding as if there were no other day but today, assuming the land would also forget what had been done to it. This is the kind of reading that has informed my thinking on these subjects. All of us are responsible for tidying up after ourselves, restoring the place we've stayed in to its former beauty and order, and refill the fridge. All beings share this planet with us. When you listen to Native Americans talk about this, they will say, Omatakwiashin, which translated into English loosely means all my relations. And that means all of my brothers and sisters, and they'll tell you if you ask. That means my two-legged brothers, sometimes they say five-fingered brothers and sisters, my four-legged brothers and sisters, my six-legged brothers, and my swimming brothers and sisters, my flying brothers and sisters, and my standing brothers and sisters, the oldest sequoias and the youngest dandelions, all my relations. And these are all my relations. And this is my family. And this is my world. Oh, I'm supposed to look at this page too. People sometimes ask me as a pagan, what kind of rituals or ceremonies do you do, Paula? Since I've kind of formulated this kind of paganism by and for myself. So I will say this: recycling and composting, done with a reverent frame of mind. These are my daily rituals. Regular readings of works by fellow travelers, including Starhawk, Barbara Kingsolver, Sherry Tepper, assorted Native American leaders and writers, the Dalai Lama, and many others. I filter a lot of my decision-making through the hope and intention of walking lightly on this earth, whether I'm planting a tree or buying new clothes or deciding what charities to give money to. Talking to trees and stopping quietly to listen for their answers. These are my sacraments. Thank you. I'm going to give the microphone to Stephanie.
When I was born, my father was a defrocked, gay, closeted Methodist minister. Okay. He later became an Episcopal priest after I was an adult. I won't talk about that. My mother was a woman who chose to marry a closeted, gay, defrocked Methodist minister who had just come out of a mental asylum where they'd tried to give him the cure via electric shock treatment. The cure for being gay. She married a gay man, so she was kind of pissed. You'd get that way if, well, you can guess. So, okay, that's the start. He was also a church musician, which meant as I was growing up, I went to whatever church he worked for. All of them Christian churches of one variety or another. And when I was about 4, I overheard my mother talking to the minister at a Presbyterian church in Saratoga, New York. And I don't know what had started the conversation, but they were shouting at each other. And I heard the minister tell my mother that there was no place in the church for someone like her, said in pretty much that tone of voice. And that was the last time my mother ever attended a church, unless it was to hear my father or me sing. Okay, so I had that impression. 2 men. Keep going. Okay. Then I stopped going to church pretty young. I'd had a scare with a communion service. Methodists who all went up very solemnly to drink blood and eat the body of something. Zombie church, Scared the crap out of me. And so that was kind of the end of my willingness to get up on Sunday morning and go to church. And my parents both accepted that. Even my father, who was very, very, very religious, accepted that as being a good idea. And he soon quit working for churches and was in arts management for the rest of the time he was married to my mother. And years went by when I didn't enter a church building except once with a boyfriend who convinced me we should visit the Catholic Church in Tampa, because we lived there by then. And I was scared to go in because I thought I'd get stricken dead because I wasn't Catholic. And he convinced me that, no, I don't think that happens. And so I'm like, okay, if you're sure. So we went in and everything was fine, of course. And I was fascinated by the architecture, but what really struck me was Mary. That there was a portrait of Mary in the narthex of the church where you walk in. And at first I thought, well, gosh, is she God here? And I asked and he laughed and I was told, no, she's the mother of God. Okay. All right, so I was like, okay, that's different. But I was like, I filed that away. It was on the back burner. And then I became a church musician. I went to school, got multiple degrees in music, and became a church musician, among other things. And I was, one job I had in New York City involved working for the Church Musicians Agency. And that job would be, what that consisted of is somebody from the agency would call me at 4:30 on a Sunday morning and tell me where I had to be that morning. And I would get assigned to whatever church needed a soprano on a Sunday morning. And I would walk in not having a choir robe, not having seen the music, nothing. And not often knowing nothing about the denomination I was going to sing for. So I was in all kinds of churches. And I started hearing in some of them language referring to God as a she. And I went, that's interesting. Filed that away. And then eventually I took a job working for an Episcopal church, where as a steady gig. And they were in the throes of having just ordained women for the first time, and also of changing the prayer book to be slightly more inclusive, not really inclusive, but slightly more inclusive. And then a lot of people were starting to alter it as they were saying the service. And so you'd hear a lot of inclusive language that included women and other people too. And that really fascinated me, that there was this flexibility. So I started asking some questions and was directed to a course at Union Seminary taught by Phyllis Tribble, who was a theologian of she was very well known in about the 80s, about the time she was at Union. And she wrote a bunch of books about women in Christianity and their role in the history of the church, as well as the characters in the Bible. And she did approach them as characters in a story. And it was kind of fascinating to me. That approach to it was different too. All right, so fast forward a few years, and I'm at this Presbyterian church in Columbus, Ohio, where I'm now working. And the minister there is a woman, and I notice around her neck, I'm going to step out, she's wearing around her neck somebody that looks like me, only with an upside-down basket or maybe a honeycomb around her head. Looks just like me. The big boobs, the big butt, the whole thing. I'm like, who's that? She says, that's the Venus of Willendorf. And I say, who's that? And she says, well, she's a Venus. She's a goddess. And I'm thinking, okay, there's a goddess that looks like me. I'm so into that. So I look up the Venus of Willendorf, and I actually went to New York the next time I was there, and I went and saw her because she lives in the Metropolitan Museum of Art. And as it turns out, she is, well, they thought at the time, the oldest living religious, living? Yeah, living, I'll go with that, religious relic that they'd ever found. Now, I found out years later, she's not a Venus. There were no Venuses in Willendorf, wrong part of the world. And also, she probably wasn't a goddess. She was probably just some chick who had a baby or 10, And they were basically just glorifying womanhood is probably what was happening. So I wrote a poem about her called Woman of Willendorf, which I won't share with you. It's not one of my best. But anyway, it still struck me that there are people wearing her on their bodies. So when I was on my second honeymoon, they run together. Sorry, honey. I was on my second honeymoon. We were in the Haight District in San Francisco, and we're in this shop, and there is the Venus of Willendorf. And there's a silver chain. And so my new husband bought this for me. And at the time, I knew she was seen by many people as a fertility goddess, but we had decided not to have children, so I wasn't really going there. I got pregnant. And then she disappeared. Never saw her again. So her work was done. And she moved along, and that child is the product of that wonderful person I wore around my neck, I guess. So that happened. All right. Now I go a little further, and I'm becoming more and more interested in pagan stuff. In general, I've heard about the connections to nature and the sense of wonder and holiness in everything. This all made sense to me. Because I knew music was holy. I knew that art was holy. There's no reason everything else couldn't be, So this was really, and also, most importantly, the focus on the female as the Godhead really drew me. I don't believe in God. I don't believe in goddess either, to be honest with you. I'm not that kind of pagan. But it still appealed, the symbolism spoke to me. And so I've done a lot of reading. I've also read many, in fact, all the books you mentioned. I've read them at one time or another. And the same Presbyterian minister who was wearing Venus around her neck gave me When Women Were Gods, and when women were God. When God Was a Woman, there we go. She gave me that book, and it spoke to me back then too. So this, over the last 20 years, I've sort of been exploring a lot of religions, and I learned early on that you can't really understand another person's religion until you walk it. You have to actually do it. And so I've tried on a whole bunch for size. I was Jewish for a while, Buddhist, Hindu, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And this year is the year that I'm being pagan. Now, that's the one that actually speaks to me, which is why I think I kept pushing it down the road, is because I sort of thought it might be a landing place. And part of it will be, I'm quite certain. So we've been doing rituals at our house, whether they wanted to do it or not. It's not a democracy. You know, we all decide things. And one of my decisions was that we would do ritual this year in order to kind of experience it and get our way through it. I'm going to end by sharing a poem I wrote. Because that's how I express things in my life. This is called Moonlight. You should know that my family is from the mountains of upstate New York. And they've been there for way before the Revolution. And one side is Native American, and the other side is sort of German Dutch. And so they have very different outlooks, but they're all from there, on both sides, mothers and fathers. And this is called Moonlight. Supple blue curves roll in the moonlight, made of water and light and air. One can see her all the way through. Transparency reveals what matters. Deep crevices conceal only fragments of that which is held dear. She moves circuitously, arms outstretched beside her, the ecstatic dance of old black Baptist church ladies buried long ago in Arkansas fields. Her voice is that of generations, rich and overlaid with experience, pain, and joy ringing out together, a raucous tintinnabulum, heard from plain to plain, until crashing against mountains to east and west. Only the cries of vanquished warriors can be heard above the din. She is capacious, commodious, comprehensive, a substantive use of skin and bone. She is the welcome cushion one seeks at life's end. This woman is both real and not real. She is simultaneously irrefutable fact and essential chimera. Can she be contained? This is the question asked, then answered. Were you attending, or had you drifted? Will the answer be repeated in time for redemption, reparation, restitution? Rigid black lines thunder in the moonlight, made of water and shadow and air. One can see her all the way through. Transparency reveals what matters. And that's Moonlight. And I'm going to give this back to Chloe.
I just want to thank Paula and Stephanie so much for volunteering to do this. I really, it spoke to my heart, you know, their stories, their wisdom that they shared with us. I am just so grateful. Thank you. Here's my story. When I was 8 years old, my family and I visited Connecticut for a family reunion, and before heading back home, we visited different historical sites in Massachusetts. One of the destinations was Salem, Massachusetts, where I first learned about the Salem witch trials and where I became up close and personal with the idea of spirituality for the first time. I was once again enthralled in the history that was being presented to me, such as I was at other historical landmarks in Boston, but for this location, it was different. This was a place that is accredited to the start of my spiritual journey. I remember walking down a cobblestone road with my parents and saying confidently and proudly, "I'm going to be a witch." After that, I would continue to build up a book collection, starting with the first book, titled Halloween by Silver Raven Wolf, that was purchased for me in Salem in one of the many metaphysical shops that lined the aforementioned cobblestone road. I would search the spirituality section of Barnes & Noble's looking for spell books, and that would catch my eye, and books about different spiritual paganistic practices, such as chakras, astrology, and animal guides. I would go on to do more research online, where there was a website dedicated to the study and education of Wicca and witchcraft called witchschool.com, that led me to which led me to start following the Wiccan path. I started to collect crystals, a lot of them coming from my father, who was a science teacher, and obtained them while teaching about geology, and different items that represented my spirituality, such as animal statues, a handcrafted wand, and a lot of incense that I wasn't even allowed to burn. I still have it. Still not burnt. These items were used to create my first altar that resided on my bookshelf, and to me was a symbol of the solidification of my spirituality. On Christmas Day, during my 13th year, my Mima gifted me my first deck of tarot cards. I was so grateful for this gift because it showed that she supported me and my interests, even though she didn't understand it. I immediately started using it, practicing on my relatives who would volunteer to have their fortunes read with the help of the handy guidebook that was included. From this point, I started my journey into the kind of practice I wanted to excel in going forward, divination. I started to practice different forms of divination, such as pendulum divination, reading candle flames and chiromancy, tea leaves, runes, dowsing rods, dreams, etc. Even though I was dedicated to learning more about divination, becoming a divination witch, and more about my spirituality in general, my practice in it was very relaxed and something that I would only seriously hunker down and focus on occasion through the coming years as a solitary practitioner. In 2015, I had a spiritual experience that had me confused and disoriented. While singing in my college choir in a Catholic church, I experienced a warm, ethereal sensation inside my heart while enveloped in the harmonies that echoed through the cathedral. Directly after we were done performing, my father gave me the news that my Aunt Jean had passed away. I felt that this feeling might have been a sign from her to reach out further into spirituality and religion and to find community within it. I felt that she was wanting me to start walking on the path of Christianity, but I was not ready to give up all my years of paganism and Wicca just yet. I was stuck between the proverbial rock and a hard place when it came to exploring the different facets of religion that were about Christianity, while wanting to stay Wiccan for the time being. I had thought to myself, is it possible for me to be both at the same time? And if so, is there a community where I can be both? And just like that, with a little Google search and some courage to take the first step on this new spiritual journey, I had found Triple U. As the years have gone by, I have slowly started moving away from Wicca and have considered myself just pagan with Wiccan undertones, still attributing to my practice. I am polypantheistic, believing in deities and pantheons from all over the world and their practices, but my main pantheon is Nordic. During a personal spiritual experience, I found Freya to be my main deity, and with her guidance, I was able to be closer with life and become accepting of death. I am still learning more about my personal practices and belief systems, but for now, I am content and comfy with my spirituality, and I am proud to be a pagan. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for hearing us.
Thank you for sharing with us. Absolutely. Join me in extinguishing the chalice.
We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Thank you. And then our closing music, again led by Stephanie and Alicia, is Joy, Thou Goddess. This is hymn 327. I believe we're doing verses 1 and 2 only. That's in the gray hymnal.
Yeah, the other two verses are in German, and we could, but we don't want to show off. Okay. Beethoven. This is part of the Ninth Symphony, last section, big chorus, bombastic. So, up, 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 because we have to be bombastic, because Beethoven said so. I should also tell you the lyrics we're doing, nobody has taken credit for them. I assume they were written by the UU Hymnal Committee back in '83, I think it was, when they did this. And but I don't really know. The words you all know aren't these words, so read. Okay, here we go. You ready? Joyful goddess, very mortal, offspring of Elysium, mad with rapture to the portal of thy holy fane we come. Fashion's laws indeed may sever, but thy magic joins again. Human kindness won forever, neath thy mild and gentle reign. Joy in nature's wide dominion, mightiest cause of all is found. 'Tis this joy that moves the pinion when the wheel of time goes round. From the bud she lures the flower, suns from out their orbs of light. Distant spears obey her power, far beyond our mortal sight.
Great job. So my closing words for today are from Ram Dass. The spiritual journey is individual, highly personal. It can't be organized or regulated. It isn't true that everyone should follow one path. Listen to your own truth. I encourage you all to do the same. Thank you so much for being here today. Please stay and enjoy some coffee and conversation if you can. Have a great week, and they're going to play some postlude music on our way out.